Christin, what's going on? It's
How
so
are
great.
you?
It's so great to meet you. Thanks for letting me interview you.
Absolutely.
So, Christin, how long have you all been homeschooling?
We have been homeschooling for the past 7 years.
Wow. Okay. And how many children do you have?
I have 3. I have one, she's fixing to be 11, and another one that's a girl. I have a boy that is fixing to be 8, and a little girl that's fixing to be 6.
Awesome. And how long
Yep.
have you all been with Classical Conversations?
We've been with Classical Conversations for the past 4 years.
Okay, super. And why did you all decide to homeschool?
Well, it was just something that was laid on my heart when I was pregnant with my first daughter. We just felt like that, God was calling us both. Me and my husband both agreed, and we just felt like it was something God really wanted us to do. To impact the lives of our kids in different ways than, because we both had a public school education. Not that there's anything wrong with it. We just felt like, this is the way God's leading us, and what better way to be able to put into your child the love of the Lord. And, especially, I had a good career, and, the thought of showing them that, careers isn't everything. Like, Christ is the number one that we need to follow, and your career can wait until, as a mom, you're, stable in your household. And, I don't know, I just felt like it's something that God was leading us towards, and that's where we went with it. So we've been homeschooling ever since.
That's awesome. That's great. What advice would you give, Christin, to a new homeschool mom or a new homeschool family?
Wow, there's lots of advice I would want to give. Probably to give yourself plenty of grace, not to expect, not to look on everyone else is a good piece of advice. I feel like when I first started, I was comparing my children a lot. And I say children because it took me several years to realize, don't do that. Like, that's a big no-no. Because God created each one of us unique in our own way. And I have 3 very different children, and I do not homeschool all 3 of them the same way on certain things. So my advice would be to give yourself grace and to realize your children are not going to be like everybody else's children. They're not going to have the same strengths and the same, they're not going to have the same weaknesses, the same strengths. They're going to be different, and you have to, I don't want to say cater, but you have to figure out how each one of them learns, and give yourself grace in that time, because it's hard to figure it out.
It's such a great point. What I find, I don't know if ironic is the right word, there are no adults that are the same. So why would we have an expectation that we would all learn the same? Why children would learn the same when none of, we're all unique. Psalm 139, right? We are uniquely and wonderfully made. And so it's neat to just hear that point that you homeschool each one of your children differently. Use the same program as kind of the framework, but how that plays out in each one of your students, each one of your children is different. That's great. And I love the grace and the patience and stuff. That's awesome. How about for a veteran family, Christin, for a family that's been maybe homeschooling 5+ years? What would be a good reminder or encouragement for them?
A good reminder and encourager for them, for veterans. I don't know. I guess I don't look at myself as a veteran by any means. However, I guess I am. We've been in it 7 years. So don't be afraid of change is what I would say. Don't be afraid of change, because change can be great, especially in a homeschool life. I was afraid for the first 2 or 3 years, very afraid of changing curriculums, and very afraid of my homeschool not looking like public school. So for the first several years, we public schooled at home. And then when I finally realized, God would just kept pressing on my heart, and, Christin, something's not right. You're not fulfilling, your heart's desire. And my heart's desire was to have a relationship with my children outside of education. I wanted them to be able to, when they are grown, look back and say, wow, this was great. This was a great experience. My mom and dad, they taught us about the Lord. They led us towards him. And they found God in every manner possible. Classical Conversations does the, where you find God in every subject. And I love that. That is just like speaks to my soul. And that's something that I wanted to do. So, I would say don't be afraid of change. It's great to change. It's great to see different things and new ideas. And so I was reluctant the first several years of changing anything. But had I not been open to it, we wouldn't have found Classical Conversations. And I've loved it. We've added many other different math curriculums and just games in general. I think my kid's favorite is Nerf Wars. We have family Nerf Wars, but we see how many gets the most bullets on each side, and just something crazy and simple. But it also teaches my 5-6-year-old hey, I'm counting. Like, it's great. So I would say to the veteran, don't be afraid of change.
Excellent. Love it. How about to that other dynamic, that other group of families that, due to the coronavirus and all that's going on, have kind of been forced into homeschooling or doing school at home?
I would encourage them to know that not public school at home is okay. To know that, as long as you're reading to your kids and you're engaging with them and spending time with them, that is huge. That is big. You can take a positive out of this whole coronavirus thing and say, okay, and we're looking at the negative side of it. We're doing this, we're doing that. The kids are here. We can't do our normal. It's okay to be afraid of change, but embrace it. Take this time to nurture your child, to love on them, to show them, even in change, it's great. Watch tons of documentaries. Documentaries are a wonderful way to set, and, you hear the same that your children's hearing, then you have many deep discussions about it. Find the Lord in those documentaries. Show them where God had mercy and grace and all of those good things. I would use this time as look at it and say, God's gave us time as a family together. This is wonderful. That we get to spend this time. We're blessed with it. May not be the greatest circumstances, but, you can take a blessing out of it either way.
So true. And really, there's so many different ways to show the integration of subjects and God with everything. And I love that idea of just watching a documentary. And in documentaries, there's ways to probably bring up all kinds of stuff, economics and geography and history and science and physics and faith and everything out of that kind of thing. So that's a great idea. Have you had a particular Bible verse or Bible passage that has really been helpful or encouraging for you during some of the tough times of your homeschool journey?
Absolutely. I have one. All of my kids have learned it so far. And it is one that I feel like will stick with us and stick with them through the rest of their life, because it was something that I think when I was probably about 10 that I learned in VBS one year. And it was Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So, that's something that I've just always went back to. As long as I have him as my strength and guide, I can do whatever I want.
That's great. And last question, a fun family activity. So you mentioned the Nerf Wars, Nerf guns. Is there any other fun family activity that you all enjoy doing as a family at home?
Yes. We love cooking. Our family is huge eaters, so we love to cook. And we integrate, math, science, all the above in with the cooking lesson every morning. There'll be some mornings, of course, we don't get to it, but for the most part, my 10-year-old, she can cook biscuits and gravy, which is fabulous. We do that. And we have also Jeopardy. We have a Jeopardy board that's big for my older two. My youngest one, she's not there yet, but we do a Jeopardy board with classical conversations. We have like the little note cards and, you know, I mean, it's just really neat. You can pretty much have school with doing anything. Monopoly is a huge one too. But our Nerf wars are probably our most favorite of all. So
that's great. Well, thank you so much, Christin. I totally appreciate you sharing your wisdom and insights and advice. And God bless you and your family.
All right. Thank you.